Good morning, everybody. So welcome to our ping meeting. So first I wanted to let you guys know what our schedule is for finals week. We have full days on Monday, Tuesday of the week of 12/16, 12/17. We are going to try something a little different because I know in the past we've tried to have all of our finals kind of in a couple days, and that puts a lot of pressure on the kids to have 3 finals in a day, and it's very stressful. So we're gonna try to break them up a little bit. So we're going to have on Monday, we're gonna basically see all of our A-day kids, and kind of similar to our Thursday schedule usually. So we're gonna meet 1 through 5, and then after lunch, we're from 2 to 3:45 essentially, we're gonna have our first period final. Will be on Monday, and then we'll do kind of the same thing with B-Day on Tuesday, and our 6th period final will be on Tuesday, and then we'll have our minimum days Wednesday the 18th through Friday the 20th, and we'll be doing our period 2, period 3 finals on Wednesday, our period 7, period 8 finals on Thursday, and our period 5 and period 9 finals on Friday. Each day we have a little time built in to do some finals review, to study kind of for the next day's finals. So hopefully everybody will feel well prepared going into their finals. The week before, ASB sort of has an event planned to have kind of a tutor night, probably that Friday the night before, or possibly the Thursday the week before, to kind of prepare, have the teachers here and just basically, kind of cram for finals. And afternoon on Friday from 12:45 to 1:45, after our finals are done, we'll have kind of an ASB event, kind of a celebration of the semester being over, a winter celebration, if you will. And that'll also be a time that some kids can do some makeups if they have to. Okay, so that's the final schedule.
Nice.
And Madison Walsh, our student ASB representative, is not here today. So I have a number of things to basically ask. We have Spirit Week on December 9th through the 13th. I don't have anything about what each day is. That'll be coming out a little bit later. But ASB has a couple of different events scheduled for that week, kind of leading up to our winter formal, which will be on the 13th, which is this year called the Snowball. I thought that was cute. And we're actually gonna be having that at the Bonsall Community Center. So we're not gonna be doing it here. We're gonna be doing it usually where the school board meets.
Oh, cool.
So that'll be a nice little place. We have an all-school assembly on the 12th. And then we're also preparing for the Fallbrook Christmas Parade on December 7th, where we'll be having a Whoville, kind of the Grinch that Stole Christmas theme. And so we're looking for donations of especially boxes, wrapping paper, anything Christmas oriented, so that we can decorate that float and make that look nice. But we definitely need a lot of big boxes. So either big boxes or cardboard that we can shape into big boxes so that we can wrap to make them look like giant Christmas presents. It's kind of the vision there. Okay, so that's that piece. Okay. Changing gears a little bit. One of the things that we've kind of continually talked about is improvement and kind of our plan for improvement. And we finally have our CAASPP scores in public so that we can kind of share how we've been doing thus far, and kind of comparing it kind of to other local high schools, and we compare very well. This is Bonsall High over here. So I'm gonna click one more time. Sorry. You can see there from and I don't know why they're all blue and gray. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's hard to read. But the 2 lighter colors of blue are, the lightest color of blue is exceed standards. The second lightest color of blue, the second lightest color of blue is met standards. And then if that's for English language arts. And then looking at the same thing for math. Again, lightest color of blue, the second lightest color of blue is what we're looking for.
That's great.
So we compare very favorably to the 2 biggest of our closest high schools. Looking specifically more at our data.
Escondido.
You can see that 25% of our kids that took the SAT, or I'm sorry, the CAASPP score exceeded standards. These are our 11th graders last year, and 44.23% of them met standards. So put that together, and that's pretty close to 70% of our kids are doing very well on the CAASPP in English language arts. And then same situation in math is that 14% exceeded standards and 28% met standards. Now, here's one of those great problems that I think that the state, whoever, hasn't really thought about when they're talking about CAASPP scores, is that when you're comparing language arts and math, you're not comparing apples to apples in any kind of way. You're comparing apples to possibly a loaf of bread. Very different things. And when you really look at the state success rates, the averages on English language arts, typically it's much higher, as one would typically expect. So it's hard to say, okay, well, our math is not doing as well as our English language department because our scores are less. It's more important to look at kind of the comparisons across the state and see where we are in comparison to the county and state average. And generally speaking, about 28% of kids meet standards in mathematics across the state. So we're significantly higher than that. So we're at about close to 40%, 42%.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good outcome for us. And again, it's hard to compare last year's results to this year's results because you're not talking about the same kids. Obviously, different kids come with different needs, different things, and so it's kind of unfair to compare 2 years ago juniors with last year's juniors because they're not the same kids. It's not showing any growth, it's just they're different kids. So, but with that said, over the course of those two cohorts, comparing them side to side, we're looking at about a 9% increase in met or exceeded in mathematics, and we're looking at a little bit more than a 7% increase in English language arts. So we're showing some pretty significant growth in both areas. We've also, we've talked about before some of the things we put into place kind of going forward to continue to kind of have that forward push. More AP classes that are in place now. The deadline to sign up for the AP exams was this last week. I think there's still a late situation if you still want to sign up. I think that's through this next week, but that's going forward. So we have a good percentage of our kids in APs or honors courses, far more than we've had before, about a 25% increase overall of kids that have taken advantage of honors or AP courses. And we're looking at courses that are going to be rigorous, but are really intended to more capture the hearts and minds of kids, give them the tools that they need to be more successful overall in school. So bringing in Avid this year for our 9th graders, teaching them how to be better students. Some kids come to school already, I know how to be a good kid. I know how to be a good student. I know how to sit there quietly and take notes. I know how to study. Some kids come to us with those skills, they kind of already know those things. Some kids have never been taught those skills. And so learning those things in a class from Avid, along with time management, study skills, how to prepare for a test, a lot of college information, a lot of goal setting sort of stuff, is a great way to set the stage or to change the mindsets of some of our freshmen to make them kind of more mindful of their academic outcomes later in life. And I think that's going to pay some dividends as we see our freshmen becoming sophomores and becoming juniors and taking this test. And also doing things like our Native American Studies class to help some kids that don't feel like they've always connected with school, connect a little bit better. And I think that as we put those things into place, we'll see greater
Improvement.
reader success rates in both the CAASPP and the SAT, the ACT, college going rates, all those kinds of things, because that's what we really want to see. That's what school's all about.
I have a question about the correlation between AP and CAASPP. If someone takes an AP class, it's not necessarily the same content, but it would probably prepare them to do well on the CAASPP test.
I think that's true. I
Okay.
think that a lot of times the CAASPP is really built around sort of the state standards. That's really what they're assessing there. And AP courses aren't so much. They're more built about kind of national standards, if you will, or about what colleges sort of want, or the AP folks kind of think that colleges want. But there's a lot of overlap with that. So especially in English language arts, for instance, as an example, you see a lot more things about literary analysis in AP. That's a huge portion of the CAASPP. You see a lot of stuff about being able to take scenarios that you don't have a lot of information about and make sort of estimations about the outcome. Those are things that are on the CAASPP, but are tested a lot more heavily on the AP exam. So absolutely, being in an AP exam or being in an AP course is probably going to prepare you for the CAASPP, as well as being in a non-AP course, if that was the question, or and also ask for you to do a little bit more. So I think that definitely having those options all the way along are going to be significant. And it just really sends the message that enough isn't good enough, that you can't just slide by on the minimum, that we really want you to challenge yourself, we really want you to better yourself, and if that means taking college classes as we do through our dual enrollment and through our Palomar relationship, if that means AP courses, if that means honors courses, if that means just taking things that are outside your own comfort zone. If you're not great at math, but you go ahead and try that calculus class. Those are things that are going to show that you, as an individual, that you're willing to grow, and it's going to help you expand your own horizons, and it's going to help you obviously do better on some of these assessments, because it's going to make you stretch your mind somewhat. And that's really what we're all about, is just stretching the mind. Just like we want our kids to be healthy, we also want our kids to be intellectually active. And so those are important components. Good. Yes, sir.
So when did you guys just receive these results? This
Well,
is pretty recent.
The district has had access to these for a minute, but they weren't made public until a couple weeks ago.
You said a minute, you mean a month?
About a month.
Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't really tell you when we got them. I meant it in the vernacular.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure.
I'm not
just
sure
wanna
exactly
clarify.
how long we've had them or the district's had them, but they only became public a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So-
I definitely think these should be celebrated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope, I know you'll put them in the pink minutes, but it would be nice if they're discussed at the next board meeting and.
yeah.
And we're having a presentation in the December board meeting to really talk about all of our successes up till now,
Awesome.
with our kind of our improvement plan, if you will, and where we are on that. And we've committed to the school board that we're going to basically let them know 4 times a year, give them an update. And so this will be a part of that, as well as some of our implementation of some of our other things. Next week, a lot of the staff is off at the PLC conference, and that has been a big piece of our improvement efforts. I know that there's always been questions about symposium, what exactly that is. And the idea there is we're putting in a lot of the sort of those collaborative ideas, some of those good researched models about how do you really get a kid who's falling behind to get caught up. And in the old days, it was always, well, you just have to retake the class next year. That doesn't really catch anybody up, that just really puts you behind a year, right? So with our symposium plan, as soon as a kid has shown that he might be falling a little bit behind in math or in English or now even in biology, we can put them immediately back into another class where they get another 45 minutes a day of support in math or English or biology, go back and relearn that concept that they didn't learn the first time while they're still taking their math and English and biology courses, so that those kids don't fall behind, so that they're kind of been keeping up, just kept pushing along while they're still doing what they need to do. and teaching it, obviously teaching it in a very different way, doing different things with those kids so that they get that a little bit better, so that they can show mastery. And then once they've shown mastery, that next concept is a little bit easier because those topics tend to build on each other, and that allows us to kind of not have a situation where kids are falling behind. And for those kids that are keeping up in class, it also gives us an opportunity to do more. So for instance, for our 11th graders, they're all taking SAT and ACT prep courses during that time. So that has allowed those kids to get kind of a foot up. I don't know if anyone's tried to do a private SAT or ACT prep class. They're fairly expensive. I mean, they're $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 if you run up to Temecula and sign up for one of those programs from one of those private companies, and we're giving it to them just as part of our regular day. So these kids are going to be a lot better prepared for the ACT, and I think that test prep, whether it's CAASPP or SAT, ACT, because tests are sort of designed similarly. They have a lot of similar components. So if you are preparing to do well on the SAT, ACT, and you're asked to take the CAASPP exam, some of those skills are going to overlap. So we're going to see some benefits from those kids taking those exams or those test prep courses as well when they hit the CAASPP. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if this is related, but it might be to the CAASPP scores. I went to the Escondido College Fair last month, and I was just talking to, I think it was Penn State, and they told me that, it's not just the grades that the kids get, but depending what school they're coming from, there's certain scoring. What is that all about, and how are we with that?
A lot of that has to do with kind of our plan. So one of the things, and I'll give you another example of that, like those some of those online measuring where they rank schools, those programs.
Great schools.
Great schools or some of those, they always give like a number, and a lot of times it's not really clear what those numbers mean, but sometimes colleges sort of give a number kind of arbitrarily to schools. And some of the things they look at is how many ACT classes or how many honors and AP classes do they offer? What kind of electives are they offering? Are they rigorous electives? Are they just kind of funsy things? How are their test scores doing? Once kids get out of school, and we don't have a lot of data on this one yet because we haven't had that many graduating cohorts, but after kids leave high school, how many of them end up staying in college? And so they'll take all those things and a couple and other things, depending on which school you're talking about, and they put them all into a little barrel and they come up with some kind of ranking. And so certain schools, they want schools that have the more rigorous coursework, that have the kids that are going to be successful in college and going to maintain. And so those schools are given a little bit higher rank. I think with the changes we've made, we're going to see some increases in our ranking. And I think we can also be proud of where our kids have gone thus far. I mean, most of our kids that have graduated in the last 2 years have gone on to highly prestigious universities, and most of them are doing well. So those are things that I think that we were preparing our kids well 2 years ago, and those guys are doing okay that graduated in that cohort. And we're continuing to sort of add more supports along the way and continuing to add a little more push towards the higher rigor stuff. And with the kind of great culture that we had at our core and all the rigorous pieces that we're kind of tacking on now without losing the great culture piece, that's where the great schools happen, And so it's kind of all those things together. And so all that kind of comes in together into those scores. And a lot of that too is just, there's some arbitrary things too, like how many kids have gone to that university from the school in the past. That kind of stuff always has a factor. But for the most part, they're looking to say that your kids are taking advantage of the most rigorous options that they have available to them, and that they're doing the best that they can in whatever's being offered, right? And so that's kind of part of that. Okay? I know that was a little unclear, but I think it differs depending on which school you're talking about.
Nebulous, it seems.
It's a little bit nebulous. Okay?
I had a question or just an observation, and maybe you could comment on this with the other students. So for my son, like he's getting all A's this year. Mm-hmm. He wasn't always like that. I mean, he would get a few A's, but I think a lot of it is, I attribute it to his self-motivation and ability to take ownership. And I know that's a big philosophy here, the agency, that kind of collaborative way of being able to work. So I see that as progressing with the Avid, like hitting, supporting them when they just get here to be able to have those. And you don't know when that's going to exactly happen, like
Right.
that kind of shift in perspective, so it's not my parents are making me, but it's like shifting to ownership myself of this, which I think is the biggest thing, is that you can give to a student instead of you having to whack them over the head to get good grades when they are taking it on themselves. So I just wanted to comment on that and see what your response is.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, there's the old adage about you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
But if you've led the horse enough times to the water, they know how to get to the water on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we just got to keep, to mix metaphors, we're planting seeds.
Yeah.
We're teaching them how to make good decisions. We're teaching them how to do, to make higher level thinking sort of situations. We're helping them with those skills. Some of that'll pay off immediately. They start germinating immediately.
Right.
Sometimes it's not till a couple years later, and that comes with individual student maturity, and that comes with the kind of support that they're getting at home, and that comes with just a lot of times just where those kids are in life. And I think that we're, that as a philosophy, we're always giving kids those second chances. We're always helping them find whatever that next plateau is for them, and challenging them to go ahead and keep finding the next one. And that's really what it's all about. And like you said, sometimes some kids take a minute. They don't start with the A's, but by the time maybe they're juniors, they start getting A's, or even by the time they're seniors, they start getting A's, and that's great. And sometimes, unfortunately, we don't see that germination until after they've graduated, and then when they're in college, it's like, I get it now, and so that's really the measure of success, is ultimately after 4, 5, 10 years after high school, are these guys successful? Do they have all the skills they need? If the answer is yes, then we've done a great job. If the answer is no, not so much, obviously we've done something wrong. And I think that a lot of that is exactly that. It's just preparing them for success and helping them to start making their own decisions, and helping them to take ownership of their own learning. And I think Avid is a great example of that. Challenging them through honors classes and through AP classes is an example of that. Giving them a variety of elective options so that they can be challenged in a variety of different ways, college courses, career tech ed, whatever it might be. Those are all things that are going to ultimately lead to that expansion of mind that's going to help them to become better individuals, whatever that looks like for them.
Great, thank you.
All right, one more thing, I think. One more thing. Actually, 2 more things. So one of the things too that we're doing is that we're piloting some new curriculum. As you know, we're sort of transitioning from a totally project-based high school plan of a couple of years ago to more of a hybrid. So we're having some projects and some other sort of things. And the entire district is piloting English curriculum this year. And initially we were sort of left out of that because they were looking at more of a K-8 pilot. So as of this spring, we'll be piloting some new English curriculum. So that will happen basically February, March, and April. We'll be looking at 2 or 3 different textbooks, and we'll be looking at some parents to help us with the selection process for which ones specifically we want to pilot. And we're also piloting some math, and we've been able to sort of work with the middle school that they're going to start piloting some math in the spring. So hopefully next year we'll have, as we're starting back again in September next year, we'll have new language arts textbooks for all levels, and we'll have new math textbooks for all levels. And this is challenging because it's requiring us to a lot of manpower, a lot of time, a lot of resources, basically, to get the training that the English teachers need, that the math teachers need for both sets of curriculum, having the time to select those textbooks, and basically getting the time to really implement them with fidelity. And so that's something that you'll see and you'll probably be hearing about from your kids, especially over the course of second semester, because that's really when it's gonna hit hard. Right now, they're already starting with math. I think it's about 2 weeks ago, they started with the new curriculum. There'll be a second textbook sometime when we come back, basically after winter break. But once the English department also starts with a new curriculum, obviously that can be a little bit of a stressor for kids because it'll be, different things that they're not used to. But hopefully there'll be plenty of support there to help them out as we go. Okay.
What are kind of like what are the differences between the different types of curriculums?
Well,
Can you repeat the question? Because I don't know if that could.
What are the differences between the curriculums? Like, what are the changes?
I think it's just, we want things that are a little more vetted. We want to be able to make sure that what we're teaching is actually what's being assessed. Different textbooks have different sort of focuses a little bit. We want to have things that are going to support our English language learners, that have the resources that we can utilize to also help some of our kids with IEPs. And kind of in the past, we've sort of had to create that on the go. So just as a kid comes into the class, we got to figure it out. And this way we're going to get some curriculum that's going to at least give us a head start on that. So that's kind of one of the reasons we want to go to something that's a little more.
What about like the math? How is that going to change?
For the math, it's kind of the same animal. It will be something that the kids can look to as a resource, something the teachers can use as a resource, something that has an online component that can give some kids some practice kind of wherever they are and whatever they're doing. And I think it's just a way to sort of be a little more modern about how we're doing things, instead of sort of depending upon kind of the individual teacher's lesson plan. Not that we haven't done bad with that. I mean, we've done great with that, but I think that having some textbook resources, some materials, some other things that come with these adoptions as sort of a place to start. You don't have to start from scratch every time a new kid walks in the door. So it's a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jennifer, you want
Okay.
to come up and share your?
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to mention that the holidays are coming up and they're going to be here before we know it, and we tend to like to do something for our staff, teachers and administrators and staff members and our custodians, and we have had in the past either holiday baking things that people can take home or a luncheon, and I think this year I'd rather do like a luncheon. I was hoping to maybe do it outside if the weather is nice, and I think we're talking about Thursday, December 5th. Thanksgiving is late this year, so it would kind of be a Thanksgiving / holiday luncheon for the teachers. I'll probably do a perfect potluck, but if anybody has any great ideas for a theme, I'm totally open to any possibilities. Anyway, I'll get that perfect potluck going, but if anybody wants to talk to me afterwards, that would be great. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
I just had a couple things I wanted to share. One is Carol LaRussa has made these fantastic, I'm not sure exactly. Pumpkin succulents. And so there are beautiful succulents on top of a pumpkin in the most cases. There's quite a few different options. So these are in the teacher lounge and in the office, is that correct? And they're available for, they're different price ranges, and all these funds are going to go toward the teachers lounge and just giving them what they need: cups, plates, just all kinds of materials and things for the teacher lounge. So please come by, check them out. Make your choice. You can put if you find one that you really like, you can put a little sticky on it and say, I want this one, and then come back and pay if you don't have your money. But we ask that you have exact change when you do make a purchase, just so the office staff doesn't have to work out making change for you. Just bring the correct amount, please, and we hope you partake in this. It's a great way to support the teachers and have something that you can give as a gift or something to beautify your home or whatever environment you want to bring to your office. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to mention is the website. So we're working on, I've been collaborating with Dr. Fowler. We're still waiting for some content, some images and so forth, but we're getting very close to being able to launch it. And I want your input on what things you would like to see on a website for the school that maybe aren't on the current website. Just some of the things we are planning to add is a way to communicate absences. I mentioned this last month. So you could just go into a form, put in a form and not have to leave a voicemail if that's easier for you. Some other things are more content around the accomplishments of the school and the accomplishments and the goals of the students and how they're working together. For instance, the monthly meeting that the ASB is having with leaders of sports teams and other leaders within the school. We had a long discussion about that during the last meeting, the last PIM meeting. So that's another thing that's going to be added to the website, like a student portal, so to speak, of things that they're accomplishing and what they're doing and how they're growing and developing. But I'd love to hear from any of you. I put it out in the last, the last video and notes, but I didn't get any response back or of anybody that had any ideas. And it may just be that people didn't have any additional ideas. But if you have any, please communicate them to me. You can just email me, todd@bentonwebs.com, or just reply to the ping email and let me know what ideas that you have.
One of the things we talked about is a page that will probably be guided by our journalism department or our creative writing department, which would be kind of spotlighting individual students or individual staff members and the successes that they're individually having. So it might be some of our graduates, it might be some of our current kids that get accolades or they've done something special. And kind of doing that and also featuring some of our local history so that the kids can go out and learn some area and write articles kind of featuring, the history of the place itself, so that we're a little more grounded, that we're a little more understanding about where we come from and what we're all about. And having a place for that on the website too is just a resource for our parents, for our greater community to go to and see, okay, this is what Bonsall High School is all about. This is what the Bonsall community is all about. And I think that's, if we have people coming to our website for other things other than just, hey, what are the kids having for lunch today? Then I think that will make that a more robust sort of thing that will have more use for everybody. If that makes sense.
Yes, and as I see it, there are two main objectives on the website. One is to give support to current parents and students, to let them know what's going on, how they can get involved, activities, etc. And the second is to kind of speak about the school and the philosophy of the school, the kind of approach of the school, that family environment, and communicate that through words, but also through pictures and kind of give a vibe. So I'm also looking, I've really had trouble finding pictures, high quality images of students interacting with parents or just parents together, or so if you have any of that kind of content, then please pass that along as well. All right?
One more thing.
Okay.
One more thing. And I know I've promised this, and now's the time to set it. January 21st, we have a group of our seniors that have been working as kind of a graduation committee since really the summer, looking at kind of how they want their graduation to be. And so January 21st would be the time for parents to come in and basically begin the work of helping to prepare for graduation. We plan currently to have graduation in the same location that we had it last year on our lower field, but we are also looking for alternatives. Some of the students have come up with a couple of different ideas for alternative places for graduation, and I don't know if that's in the cards this year, if maybe that's something we do in the future. But I think parents are going to be key to that, so we'll want to know what everybody thinks about those things, and we also want to know kind of what can we be doing as a school, what can we be doing as individual parents, what can we be doing to prepare this graduation to be the best graduation that we've had up till now, because our kids absolutely deserve to have the best graduation possible. And so getting as many parents involved in that as possible. So that will be on January 21st. And one second. What time? Please hold. At this time, so 9 to like noon.
Okay.
Okay, so if anybody can come for even an hour from 9 to 10 or 9 to 11, whatever that you can give, just to give ideas. Or if you can't make it, please send us an email with ideas. We'd love to have it. Okay? Thank you.
This will be our second year participating in the Christmas parade, and we put together a donations flyer for everything we would need for the float. Our float's being donated by Faye Walter's father. It's 18 inches long, 18 feet long, not 18 inches long. It's 18 feet long. It's the truck pulling it will be our ASB advisor. And we already have generators. 3 of our ASB students already have one available, so we'll have a generator to make sure we can plug everything in. I have a donations flyer. We need cardboard. Our theme to fit with the Fallbrook parade theme, which is storybook, is the Grinch / Whoville. And so we're decorating the float like Whoville. We're gonna have a cute Grinch in a Santa hat because we can't have a Santa, but we can have a Grinch. And we're looking for cardboard, lights, Christmas ornaments, a tree to put in the center or anywhere on it. Anything you think would be cute on a Whoville float, ASP would take it. And we have our winter formal the 14th, which is the next Saturday. And so if there's any donations you'd like to give, you could donate those specifically, or if you'd like to donate a cash or check for us to purchase some really nice things, we'd also really appreciate that. All of those can be dropped off at the Bonsall High School office. I think that's it.
Great. Thanks, Madison.